is time for the February reading wrap up. And this month we ended up reading 33 books and 9,691 words. I do not know how I managed to do that, but I did participate in a couple of reading challenges, which probably had something to do with it. I went ham on the Black Author Readathon, which I'll have linked down below. I participated in the Buzzwordathon as usual, in Blackathon 2021, in the Sapphic Readathon, and I also read a book for the Literally Dead Book Club by Books and Lala. So we did a lot. I also ended up reading exclusively Black authors in honor of Black History Month, and I did that with the hopes of finding more authors that I can read more for the rest of the year. So discovering new authors to start enjoying more. Most of the books that I read, I have physical copies of, so you can see a lot of the books that we're going to go through today. I did end up reading 3 books that I don't have physical copies of, 1 audio arc that I have, and 2 Kindle books. So because I end up doing reading wrap-ups at the end of each of my reading vlogs and have gone over every single book that I read this month, I'm not going to go over everything. I'm just going to focus on my 5 stars and my disappointing or low star books. So that's kind of what we're going to focus on here. There are a lot of books that I still really enjoyed that we won't talk about, and if you're interested in knowing my thoughts on them, I will have everything listed down below in the description. Not only do my reading vlogs have reading wrap-ups at the end, I do also add menus to all of them to make it easier for you to jump around to see the content that you're interested in or skip parts that you're not interested in. So definitely consider checking those out. Anyway, enough with the rambling. Let's get into the actual books. So starting with the negative books of the month, I have a small little pile here. And the first book on the list is They All Fall Down by Rachel Housel Hall. This is a thriller book that is based off of Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None novel. I unfortunately didn't finish it. The writing style wasn't for me. I felt like the pacing was really off. It was really slow, and because it featured a lot of unlikable characters, the slow pacing kind of was just too much for me to bear, and I just didn't enjoy it. I made it 112 pages into it before I decided to DNF it. Then on to books that I actually liked but were disappointing. First one being The Worst Best Man. This book I thought was great. I enjoyed it. It was 3 stars, but I felt like it should have been higher stars for me. It just didn't get me there. I don't know. It was good. I enjoyed it, but for some reason the enemies to lovers theme, the general characters, the general idea all set up something that should have been more to me, and it just wasn't. Still a good book though. I did enjoy it, and I do recommend it. A similar book, but that had more issues for me, was Real Men Knit. This book was a 5-star prediction for me. I loved the concept, and as I started reading it, I loved the characters and the general way that the story was going, but I hated the writing. I realized that I'm not a big fan of books that focus heavily on telling instead of showing us what's going on. So even though I don't mind books that tell, I want mostly to be shown, and I think I also want to be shown before I'm told. This book did the exact opposite, and it drove me nuts. That being said, I finished the book and I did enjoy it, giving it 3 stars despite the fact that I really disliked the writing style. So I think that says a lot about my 5-star predictions and the reasons why I thought that I would like it. I was very correct on that, but because the writing style was so bad to me, or for me, I definitely had to knock it down quite a bit. Then we have Seven Sins Insatiable Hunger by Yahara St. John. I just disliked. This was a 2-star read for me. The beginning, first 80 pages out of the 200 and something pages of this book was pretty enjoyable. I felt like we could have ended there and I would have liked it. Then it kind of went into a tropey area that I'm not a big fan of, with kind of like miscommunication, and I don't know, there was just a lot of things that kind of bothered me. And then the main male character started becoming very unlikable towards the end, for me at least. He felt like a nice guy who felt entitled and was not patient, considering he should have been a patient person. Like, it just became very unenjoyable for me. So this one was a letdown just because it was a letdown. And then in a similar vein, I ended up reading this book, Colton 911, Agent by Her Side by Deborah Fletcher Mello. And this book I actually really enjoyed quite a bit in the beginning, and then it kind of took a turn for the worst. The female character was set up one way in the beginning, and it kind of shifted into something else towards the end that didn't really fit with the beginning setup, and then their relationship seemed to be kind of insta-lovey, and I don't know, there was just a lot to it that kind of bothered me towards the latter half. I still had a good time. I ended up tabbing the book, which was fun in itself, and I don't know, overall it was fine. Another 3 stars, but a little bit more on the disappointing side because I really enjoyed the setup and the idea and the potential. Now that we've gone through the negatives, let's get into some of the 5 stars books that I ended up reading. So starting with the non-surprising books, I ended up having these books, which were all really awesome. You can definitely hear more of my opinions in my reading vlogs, but we have 2 fun rom-com-y books, a enemies to lover novella workplace situation where 2 characters that don't really like each other kind of get stuck together and develop feelings. And then we have a fake dating romance about 2 people about 2 people who agree to pretend that they're dating to go to a wedding that she has to go to, and I don't know, cuteness ensues. It was really fun. Both of these were exactly what I expected. Not a surprise that I enjoyed them so much, but they were great. I loved them. Then we have another one that's not a surprise. This is A Duke, the Lady, and a Baby, and this is a historical romance. Similarly, it's kind of have some of that rom-com feel, but there's a little bit more suspense and tension in this book, which I really enjoyed. I loved the characters, I loved the idea, I think it was done well, but I personally like historical romances, so it makes sense that I enjoyed it. I also love that even though it was a race-based book with the main female character being a Black woman, but it wasn't about that, so I was able to enjoy a Black historical without it being, you know, about slavery or something like that, so that was cool. Then I have a YA that I surprisingly adored despite it being a YA. So this was You Should See Me in a Crown. It's a sapphic love story that's mostly about this young girl who is trying to become the prom queen, despite that not being her crowd, because she's hoping to get a scholarship after losing her band scholarship that she was relying on to get into the college of her dreams. And it was cute, it was relatable, it was enjoyable, and I loved it. I loved the main character, I loved the problem she was going through, I loved what it focused on, I loved the message behind it, and I loved the friendship aspect that was included in it as well, so loved it. Then I ended up reading, not a surprise, I ended up reading The Survival of Molly Southbourne, which is book 2 in the Molly Southbourne series, which is by Tade Thompson, and this is about a girl named Molly Southbourne where anytime she bleeds, another Molly clone pops up and tries to kill her, and it's basically about her trying to navigate the world and her life with this condition that she has. And it's bizarre, it's weird, it's interesting. I loved the first book, I loved the second book, really enjoyed it. If a third one comes out, I'm probably gonna read it because I love them. They're quick novellas and they're weird and cool, and I like it. I think they're supposed to be sci-fi and I love it. Okay, now something new for me in the romance genre was Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. This book has a lot of trigger warnings. It's about domestic abuse. We have 2 main characters who are destined to be together but are not because of wrong time, wrong place apparently. And you go through a lot in this book. It's dark, it's intense, but it made me feel a lot of things. Anger being one of them. I definitely would say this is not for everybody. I ended up giving it 5 stars. It made me very mad. It made me very emotional. It made me feel a lot of different things. And it was a wild roller coaster of a ride. And I would highly recommend watching the reading vlog for this one because I definitely was experiencing some things and I shared that experience with you guys. Without my reading vlogs are not spoilery, so you don't have to worry about spoilers when you when you watch my vlog. But yeah, I would recommend this, but it's not for everyone. Then the last romance book that I have is actually, I guess, more of a fantasy book. And this is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. And I really, really enjoyed this. I'm kind of on the fence about how I feel when it comes to fantasy. I love the idea of fantasy, but I feel like they tend to be pretty unapproachable and hard for me to really get into, and maybe just like too much for me to grasp most of the time. So I was surprised at how much I enjoyed this. There is a big romance aspect to it, which definitely helped in my enjoyment of the book and the story. It's pretty much an enemies to lovers sort of situation where the characters are kind of doomed to want to kill each other, and lots of crazy things end up happening, and there's twists and there's turns, and I just really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to read the next book in the series, which I typically don't say because I'm not somebody who enjoys series, but there's been a couple of books that have come out that made me want to read the next in the series. Alright, now another book that isn't a romance but has a romance aspect to it is Nubia Real One. I actually got an e-advanced reader copy of this, so a digital advanced reader copy, and I enjoyed it so much that I got the physical one. Boy, is it great. It's currently out. It is about a black superhero and her kind of dealing with race and her superpowers and just life. She's a high schooler. There's a little relationship. There's friendships involved. There's important, you know, social justice situations that go on. I don't know. There's a lot to it. I highly recommend it. The art is beautiful. The color is beautiful. It's good. I hope this becomes a series so that I can read more of it. And then the last book that I'm going to share is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. And this book is about gentrification in a black neighborhood in Brooklyn, I believe. And you follow 2 main characters, one who grew up in this neighborhood and one who has just moved into this neighborhood, and they both notice some questionable things happening and going on and sort of start investigating to try and figure out what is happening. And I enjoyed it, but I will say that I did have some bias, as the idea of gentrification regardless makes me a little bit emotional when I really think about it, and having a book that focuses so heavily on that topic definitely hit that trigger in me. So this made me pretty emotional, but I got really, really into it once things started going down, and it became just really enjoyable, really interesting, and I just wanted to know what was going to happen. So I recommend. All right, so that pretty much wraps everything up. Hopefully this wasn't too long. I like my monthly wrap-ups to be a little bit on the shorter side, especially since all of this information you can find in my weekly reading vlogs. So we'll kind of see how it goes. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this since there is so much content going on. Let me know what you would like to see in reading vlogs like this in the future, if you would prefer that I give like the synopsis and my thoughts on it and things like that, or if you like the kind of just how I felt about it and my general faves, non-faves, whatever. I didn't do too many statistics this month because I did just read exclusively black authors, and I was actually thinking of not doing this video at all, so I kind of went a little bit on the lax side this time. But if you guys want to see certain things, do let me know in the comment section down below. Also include this emoji if you made it this far. I do really appreciate everybody who comments on the videos. It helps the videos. It's also nice seeing any emojis. If you can't do an emoji, that's also fine. I just figured that it's a fun way to interact with you guys, which is why I like doing it. I am a little bit behind on responding to comments, but don't worry, I am going to try and catch up over the next week or so. So I will be responding to comments. I tend to do them in batches anyway, so I guess I'm not not that far behind. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, thumbs up, all that good stuff. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more bookish content. There will be some more art content in the future, but right now it's kind of books and life as we go through things. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Until next time, bye!